I just want to show a little bit of my gardening journey. And when I started about 3 years ago, these two were flower beds, and I was granted this bed that I could take over to make it my vegetable patch. And so I had here a few rows. I remember carrots and beets and some spring onions. I don't remember what else I had, but this was basically all my production line here. Now I only use it as a salad bed, but this is where it started, and this was all I had. And obviously, as it probably happens to most of you, you soon realized that you needed a bigger space, and I didn't have. I had to start thinking about where to get that space from. So what followed was this is the front of my house, and so I bought this raised bed, which is about, I think it's 120 or 150 by 80 centimeters, and I also got these planters, and this is where in my first year I grew my beans, my runner beans. So them two had the runner beans, and here I sown more carrots and beets and lettuces, and that was all right for the first year, but I soon realized that I needed more space. And we had these pots that would have usually had flowers in them, and so I started kind of converting every pot that I saw around into actually growing space. So now I have some, this is a pepper plant, and here I've grown some coriander. And the thing is, I've realized that obviously they are very tall, and it would be very expensive and useless to fill all this with compost. So what I've done is I filled it up to here more or less with just grass clippings and other cuttings from the garden, and then that is going to eventually decompose, and then the top probably 10 or 15 centimeters with good compost, and that's where these plants are lying. This is a brick wall on the side of the house, and this is the space where I've usually grown my tomatoes, and usually I put grow bags here, and this year I've upgraded and I've got these planters that I've really made from the cuttings from the raised beds that I have at the back of the garden. And so so that's the cuttings from the wood, but this is a crater from the supermarket delivery, and I've asked them if I could keep it because I thought that it was going to be a good medium to actually grow some plants, because it has enough holes in the bottom, and I thought it was a good way of recycling that plastic. And so I still have the tomatoes growing against the brick wall, which I find that actually is really good because it keeps the warmth during the night that the wall has accumulated during the day. This is a lean-to greenhouse. It's obviously not very big, but you have to make do with the space that you actually have, and it's certainly better than not having a greenhouse. So usually I have both sides with benches, but towards the summer, when I need less of the propagation area, I use half of the space to grow the plants that actually need warmer environments. And actually here I have aubergines, and I'm doing a little experiment. It's not an experiment, it's trying to learn by observation. I have the aubergines plants here, and they're growing a lot better than the ones that I have planted out even in a south facing area. And so the same happens with the chilies. They're growing a lot better here. So this is a small propagating area, but it's still better than nothing, and I can start my seedlings here. And then again, this is another way of recycling some of the things that you can find around the house. These are actually the recycling bins from our local authority. And again, what I've done here, this is too much compost, wasted compost. In the beginning, obviously I didn't know that, and I filled them up with expensive compost. But what I've done now is I fill them up to halfway through, or actually 2/3, with grass clippings and garden leaves, and then just the top 10 or 15 centimeters with good quality compost. And I'm using these to grow my lettuces, which are just about to come to the end of their life. And this is a good way of recycling plastic, but also when you don't have a lot of space, to create space to grow your vegetables. And this is another container that I've recycled. This is again from the supermarket delivery, and I filled it again halfway through with garden clippings and the rest with good quality compost. And I'm growing some chard here. And the good thing about these containers as well is that you can move them around. So I had these somewhere else in the garden, where I've realized that the chard was being prone to more I don't know, some pests, some flea beetle or something that was eating it, and I've decided to move it here where it has also perhaps partial shade as well, and it's growing a lot better. So it's just how to create a growing space when you may not have that much space in your garden. I have a big garden, but it's mainly flower garden, and I'm trying to create growing space for my vegetables.